Hi, so this is Rosie the Pit Bull. You might have seen her video from a couple months ago, and here we are. This is her second training session, and her owner's been doing really good. He basically has her with him all the time at their shop and at their house, but they live a little bit out of town, and now that it's getting nicer, they're going to want to start taking her around more places where there's more people and stuff. So we decided to take her to the park yesterday and give her a chance to learn how to be cool on the leash while there's a lot of stuff going on. I wasn't sure if it was recording there. So yeah, that's what we're doing here, and we're just getting started. We're in the parking lot, and I wanted to use the original audio, but unfortunately there was a problem with the microphone, and it was still salvageable, I guess, but it had a lot of annoying clicks and weird sounds in it. I'm not sure what was going on, so it wasn't very easy to listen to. So I'm going to just do this voiceover, and what I'm going to try and do here is describe what I'm communicating to the owner through this process, because I narrated the whole training process, and that to me is what's the most helpful to have on the video. So what we're doing here is we're still by the cars, and I'm just explaining what my strategy is going to be before we proceed on the walk itself. It's basically real simple. It's like very binary. It's like an on-off switch, and the switch is the leash and the amount of pressure or tension that's on the leash, meaning is there any or is there some. So right now you can see what I'm explaining to the owner right now before we get started is that my communication with the dog, because I haven't petted her, I haven't said her name, I haven't said hi, nothing. I just, took the leash from him and just started holding it. And my communication, what I'm doing here is just adjusting the collar, make sure it's, nice and snug and everything. So what I'm doing here basically is I'm having a nice conversation with her, but I'm just doing it through the on-off switch of whether or not there's tension on the leash or not. And at this point, I'm not pulling on the leash at all. She's the one that's initiating any tension on the leash, and when she does so, I'll just bring her back into close enough proximity where there's no more tension on the leash. And what I'm explaining to the owner here is that it's pretty important to do this and establish this general vibe of communication before we get started walking. Because if you've heard me say before, I believe in setting the dog up to win. I don't like putting the dog in a challenging circumstance that could have been made a lot easier for the dog. I try and do whatever I can to set the dog up to learn what I'm trying to teach them in the easiest way possible for them. And usually that just takes a little extra time, and that's all that we're doing here. Rather than being like, oh hey, I got another appointment after this, let's get started on our walk, here's what we're doing, blah blah blah. I'm just chilling out, and I'm explaining like the real subtle dynamics of how I'm using the pressure. Meaning the pressure is like a seesaw. If she's just a little tense, I'll pull just a little back. If she all of a sudden lunges forward and drags me like 2 feet off of my center of balance, well, I'll pull her back in a equal measure, but it won't be from a point of reactivity or emotion. And interspersed with the on-off tension, I'll shift gears and like say her name real happy and like get her to trot back over to me and say, good girl, good girl. So not only am I creating space and proximity using the leash, but I am also engaging her at very specific moments to encourage her to understand what we're talking about. So over the past couple minutes here, we've taken her from wanting to stand far away from us and pull on the leash to slowly learning to be more content with us. And now here I explained to the owner that since she started to pull, it's all about give and take. And I wanted to make sure that she didn't have to go potty or anything. So that's why I let her come over here and sniff around. You can see I'm giving her a lot of space, but at the same time I am creating a little bit of a boundary. Meaning, like, I'm not trying to control right where she is, but I don't want to get dragged, 100 yards away from here. That's kind of what I'm doing. So she goes potty, I give real good verbal praise, yay potty, good girl potty, and then when she reorients, I make her stop right next to me there to just say, okay, you finished your potty and now you can stand next to me. And I'm not real demanding of her placement. It's not like we're doing police training here where I'm gonna like have her want to sit right by my ankle the whole time. And that's part of the communication that I'm offering to her is like, hey, we want you to be a happy dog and sniff the smells and do all the normal dog stuff, but we want you to do it in a close proximity. And anytime you feel motivated to really fast go over here or something, like, oh, I'm going to go over here real quick, then we're going to block that. I start explaining as I notice that she's squatting more. I'll get into that as we go on, but I let her do her thing, roll around, and I'm explaining to you that as long as the leash is loose, for the most part, she can pretty much do whatever she wants. And that's the communication with her, and that's how I'm creating a fair thing. So you can see somebody off camera walking by and she's getting a little fixated on it, but as long as the leash is loose, she can be however she wants. Now she pulled me, so I pull her a little back towards me, and it's just give and take. I don't really care, what she's doing too much, as long as I can feel that that leash is loose, because that's telling me that she's entering into a state of mind of being comfortable just hanging out with us, and she's not doing this kind of stuff where she needs to go off on her own and explore. So you can see I'm helping her by using the tension on the leash to communicate with her where I wanted her to be. So you can see this body language here. The second thing that we're addressing, aside from some socialization in public, is that the owner had started noticing some prey drive tendencies creeping in. Nothing major. She didn't definitely like attack anything at all, but he was noticing this vibe that was getting more and more pronounced in her expression whenever little animals were involved or other dogs were involved. And it was by no means dangerous at this point, but it was starting to, because he's very attentive and he's very aware, he definitely noticed that she was heading down a path that probably maybe wasn't going to, keep getting any better. So when you notice her perk up and put her attention off camera, it's because there's like another dog walking by. And as you might remember from the first video, if you saw it, is she's like super duper friendly with people. So that was definitely concerning, that she would be like wanting to be super friendly with people, but then she would get this like guard dog vibe slash I'm gonna go get that thing when she saw little dogs. And that's why we chose this location, because there's a lot of space to do stuff like this, like shift gears and just take her for a nice big circle walk, just to kind of burn off a little energy. Nothing like to get her tired, but to just snap her brain out of feeling like she's like stuck in one spot. Just give her a chance to move those legs, walk around a little bit in a circle, create some real general boundaries for her, and then give her a chance to just kind of shift gears a little bit before we bring her back around and start, the foundational exercises. So you can see that since she did her potty, she's already squatted 2 times. So just be aware of that, because it'll come up later in the video. So what I'm doing here is I'm technically like priming her for her walk. I'm getting her used to what my communication is going to feel like to her while we're on the walk, because being in this field right here, or this little grassy spot, is giving us a bit of a buffer zone that I'm using to our advantage to try and connect with her what I am expecting. And you can't hear it in the video, but the whole time that I'm doing this, I'm talking with the dog's owner, and that's kind of splitting my attention. It's like I'm paying attention to her, but I'm also explaining what I'm doing, and that's not making it harder for Rosie, but it's making it more of a, it's taking a little bit longer is what I'm trying to say, because I'm not giving her 100% of my attention. I'm narrating and trying to formulate using half of my brain as to how to communicate and express what I'm doing in real time. And I enjoy doing that. But that's why this is taking a little bit longer, because I'm not really like really feeding her my energy. So we're still getting ready to go for the walk, and I'm just you can see she's being super duper observant, and I'm not correcting her observation like I want her to be observant. You'll see as the video proceeds, there's times when she gets super fixated on something and pulls on the leash real strongly, and I'll correct that. But just wanting to like get all like perked up because a car drives by, but she's not like lunging towards us or anything, I give like absolutely no reaction to that at all, because I want her to be curious and I want her to learn the world. She'll eventually learn that every time a car drives behind us or around us in a circle, that she doesn't have to perk up and think, something's going to happen. But I want her to learn that. I don't want to like shove it down her throat. So here's where we're getting started on the walk. And as you've heard me maybe say in some of my other walk videos, when I'm getting started walking a dog on the leash, my only rule is that they don't put tension on the leash. I'm not real big on needing the dog to be right next to me. And you can see she's right in front of me. Now, if I had had this dog for 6 months, there's no way I would ever tolerate her walking, 5 feet ahead of me the whole walk. I just wouldn't put up with it. And she wouldn't ever do it because it's cooperative. But at this point of the game, this is like our first experience outside in the real world together. You know, I'm, I, I want her to experience the real world. I don't want to like force her to use like all of her energy on focusing on whether or not she's right next to me. If she pulls on the leash, I'll make her understand, hey, just don't pull on the leash. But other than that, I really want her to experience. So, okay, so here's where I said something. Because you see how fixated she got on the rock? Because, or not rock, it's a bush actually. It kind of looks like a rock. But because she pulled towards it with such, tenacity in that quick second, I actually blocked her completely from getting to it. And see how there again I blocked it. I'm not making a big deal out of blocking it. All I did was make the leash too short for her to get to it, because as I'm explaining to the owner right now, I don't want her to approach anything in that state of mind. And what I'm doing here is I'm explaining to the owner what exercise we're going to do now. And it's going to be distracting her from it to make it fair for her. So what I'm doing is, and this is what I just explained to the owner, is I'm creating this different energy and letting her now pass by the thing that she was initially fixated on. You see how we're going by it, and I'm making her just keep moving with me? I'm doing that on purpose as an exercise, because I want her to sniff the bush, but I want her to do it in a nice, calm way. So now as we get our third pass on the bush, I just turn around and I let her sniff the bush. And I'm explaining to the owner the whole time what exactly we just did. It was a very specific, deliberate exercise, and all I wanted to do was show her You're allowed to sniff that bush, but you're not allowed to do it when you pull me towards it. So there's the third squat. And I'm going to explain, why she's doing that as we proceed. There's a few reasons why. So why we stopped here is because there's like three different things in this frame of area where she's wanting to get at. Like the bush over there, the bush right here, and straight in front of me where I was standing off in the shadows, there's another fence bush, and she's really fixating on that as well. So we're stopping here. Like you see that? See that? She really wants to get over to that fence. And I can understand why. Because it's probably like a little bathroom break spot for a lot of the dogs that walk by, and it probably has all kinds of cool smells. Here she gets a little too excited, boink, and gives me a pop in the face. Notice I don't really react, I just make it clear that I don't want that, but she's not in trouble for it or anything like that. I was just petting her there to, shift gears a little bit. So see how she's wanting to go back there. And we're going to just kind of repeat the same general activity that we did with the initial bush. Was like, I'm going to give her an opportunity to go sniff that fence. Like, I'm not trying to deprive her of sniffing that fence. I just need to make sure for her own good that anything that she sniffs at this point of her learning, that I want her to do it in a cool way. I don't care if she sniffs every square inch of the whole park, as long as she's doing it in a calm way, or at least like a not, dragging me off of my center of balance way. And that's all I'm doing, and I'm just explaining to you under different observations and different techniques that we're using here. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to the leash. It's on or off. It's like, is it loose or is it tense? And I'm explaining to him here like the seesaw mentality that I'm using, meaning if she pulls me away real strong, in order to keep the communication fair, I have to reciprocate the same level of pressure on the leash that she's using on me, or else she's not going to hear me, because it would be like her talking at a much higher volume than me. So see how she pulled me over, and I'll give her I always want to give her the chance to come back, but if she won't, I'll pull her back. I'm not going to pull her back here. But what I start saying here is, if you've read my book, you see how I talk about dogs interpret changing of levels. Like when we come down to their level, it's a reward. So in order to give her some positive feedback, because she's doing good, like she's pulling, and she's doing some different stuff, and she's pretty distracted, but overall she's doing really good. And I'm technically right now just still talking to the owner, but by bringing myself down to that level, I wanted to just communicate with the dog real quick, like that I was pleased with how she's being. And leaning down to a dog's level is something that you have to do with a certain degree of subtlety and nuance, because it can very easily be interpreted as an invitation for excitement. And part of the reason why I squatted down to her level and put my hands on her is because I was trying to calibrate her energy towards mine. Because I really do want her to come and sniff this area. This is what she was trying to get at. And you can see what I'm saying. Probably every dog that's walked by here since it's rained the last time has peed there. And that's her fourth marking. And now you can see I'm actually using the word marking, because that's exactly what that was. Some of the other ones aren't necessarily marking. They're expressions of not sure exactly what to do, shadow familiarity of every time I've ever spent sniffing in the grass this long, I go potty. There's other reasons, but that one was specifically a marking because she's peeing on top of another smell. So the engagement part is just as important as, or the disengagement part, or equally important, is what I'm trying to say. I wanted her to come up to the fence in a calmer state of mind, and you see, I'll let her go back as long as she's being cool. Like, but I want her to disengage from it in a healthy way too. I don't want to have her be leaving it all like, oh, I'm just on to the next thing now because I satisfied this urge. It's like I want her to abide in this moment and just enjoy it, because I don't want her getting predictive. And that might be what I start talking about here, is like when you start walking a dog forward that's in this state of their training, they're going to get really predictive. They're going to think they know exactly what's going on, and they're going to want to push the pace out of an excitement and a curiosity, and hey, this is all new. I want to experience as much as possible in the shortest amount of time, and that kind of thing. And I'm saying that in order to keep her state of mind in a healthy space, it's real important that we just maintain good pace for her. So there's a bunch of other stuff I was saying to him. I really wish I could have used the original audio, because there was a lot of stuff on my mind in the moment that I was expressing about how we were actually doing this here. But my goal is to actually go on a walk with her, but the right kind of walk. I don't want to just walk a half a mile for the sake of it. It would do her no good. I'd rather take 100 steps that are the right kind of a walk versus 1,000 steps where she didn't really learn anything. And that's what I'm explaining here, is like the whole communication with me and her is like, hey, I want her to walk down this path, but there's no need for her to technically be ahead of us, but she's not ready for that yet. But at this point, all I'm concerned about is there's no need for her to put any pressure on that leash. There's nothing 5 feet ahead of us that she can't experience when we get there. I want her to experience where we are and enjoy it and open up her senses to where we are right now versus where we're going to be in 1 second from now. And that might seem simple, but that's a really, like, when you can get that mental shift in their state of mind, it's a huge, I don't know what I'm doing here. I look really silly. I'm sure I was saying something, but that looked kind of silly. But anyway, we're walking down this path, but it would do her no good to get in the mindset where she's just pulling us down this path, because she's not learning anything. So what I'm saying here is to help make it easier for her, and I do this with a lot of dogs, is in order for her to make it easy to not want to pull ahead, I'll just walk backwards for a little while. And that way I can keep myself in front of her, use my shin to block her, and here, because she's just still fixating the head, I'll just change direction. And what I'm telling the owner here is like, I don't want to resort to all this body language stuff to try and, change her state of mind. If her state of mind is too persistent, we'll just redirect it, and that's why I walk back. You can tell she's still fixated. And as we get closer, I'll explain more why. There's a gazebo down there in another little field, and there's like a bunch of activity going on. There's like 5 or 6 groups of people. It's a beautiful day. Everybody's outside. It's one of the first real nice spring days, and this park has a lot of activity. We're choosing these areas that are off the path more to get the dog familiar. But as we get closer to the noise and the activity, you can see people are walking by that she can see. They're just out of the range of the camera. And I'm easing her into that on purpose, because I want her to have success. I don't want to just take her through a crowd and yank on the leash the whole time while she's like not even paying attention. I want to like keep this communication open with her, so that as we go through the whole process, she actually understands what's going on. So you can see she got too fixated. There's a little trail that matches up right on the other side of these bushes, and someone's walking down it with a dog. And you can see now I'm starting to experience her prey drive. She doesn't want to go kill that dog. She doesn't even want to go hurt it. But something in her DNA is telling her, I'm really, really interested in that dog. I just maybe want to chase it. But nonetheless, that's prey drive, and we do not want to, encourage that at all. So that's why I gave her a nice sharp pop on that leash there, just to be like, hey, she escalated 3 notches. So I'm like, yo, come back down 3 notches, because where we were at is where we want to be, not where she was going to take it. Because if I would just let the leash drop, she'd have run right through that pile of bushes and want to be all up on those people and the dog. She'd have probably been confused, because she'd have been so happy to see the people and not really sure about how she should act toward the dog. And nobody wants a 60-pound pit bull coming through like brush onto their trail space all of a sudden and getting right up in their space. That's like not even cool, no matter what Rosie's intentions are. That's just not how to behave. So as we're getting ready to walk towards this crowded area, I'm just explaining to the owner like stuff that I want him to be mindful of as they are on their life together. I just got a low battery warning, but I think we'll be able to ride it out. I don't want to get up and have to plug this thing in while I'm trying to talk. So this is a longer video, but I want you to see what I actually do with the dogs, so that you can not only understand it better, but also have a model. Like, okay, it took this guy 20 minutes to walk 20 feet. So the next time you're on your walk, you'll be like, well, if it takes me 20 minutes to walk 20 feet, well, that's what this guy did, and he's a pro. So I'm trying to empower you to show you, there's in squat number 5. I'm trying to empower you to show you what it actually looks like, so that when you get out there and start getting your hands dirty, that you don't think something's wrong with you because it's taken you a long time. So I was looking for an obstacle, and this is the flattest one I could find. I really want to shift her gears out of the state of mind she's in right now. She's too fixated on those people. So what I want to do is put her on this rock and make her stay there. She initially thought I wanted her to climb over the rock. Now she's trying to get off the rock, so I'm just using my right hand to put her body weight back centered so she can stay. Now I'm just gently reinforcing that that's what I wanted, and with some real gentle, calming touch that's positively saying to her, thank you, that's exactly what I wanted. I'm explaining to the owner that I think I used the exact word of being silly. I said this is a silly thing to do to the dog because she's being silly. It's like I'm trying to connect with her on the most basic level, and you can see I'm giving her a couple little gentle pats. They're not to reward her, they're to redirect her state of mind and to match her energy down to my level of calmness, because now that we can actually see those people better, she's really all about it. And here's one thing I remember mentioning. Off to this side where she is now, there's nothing going on. There's no people over there. We were already through there, and she already knows what it smells like. Therefore, she's got no motivation to go over there. However, on this side where she's leaning now, there's probably 15 new people. I didn't realize it yet, but there is a dog over there, and that was, you'll see, I'll explain more about that. But now she's really wanting to go over there. And I'm explaining to the owner that if we were to stay on the boring side, there's no challenges that are going to help her learn. But if I take her over to the excited side of the park over there too soon, she's going to put up too much of a challenge, and it's going to be a battle. And I don't want to battle her. So what I'm doing is I'm literally using this threshold of space to bring her mind from one level of seesaw to the other. Come over here, be excited for 2 seconds, I'll call her back over here, and she's bored again. I'm literally using this physical space for that exact specific purpose in this moment. And that's what I'm explaining to the owner. I want her to balance back and forth between, oh, I'm super curious, let me pull, versus I'm really bored, what are we going to do now? And that I'm balancing that because it's like when a top spins, and as it starts to lose its momentum, it starts to wobble. Well, we're kind of going in reverse of that. Right now she's wobbling. Like, see that way pulling. She really wants to get over there. And I'm not about avoidance. I'm all about the only way out is through. The only way to get her to be cool with that whole scene over there is to actually take her into it. I can't tell her that it's cool by just like letting her avoid the whole time. So this is the first step. I'm letting her come up to it where now it's more present. There's really no physical obstacles between her and it. And I can see now that there's another dog over there. And it's right under the gazebo, and you can see it moving in the very far right frame. It's just out of frame now. And once I saw it, I realized, okay, that's why she's being super tenacious in terms of like not wanting to quit. So I'm explaining that to the owner, but I'm also saying, oh, just because we saw a dog over there and that's squat number 6, and just because we saw a dog over there doesn't mean, oh, we got to avoid it. The only way I'm going to help her not have prey drive is to take her into opportunities where she could exhibit the prey drive and give her an opportunity not to do it. And you got to know what you're doing there, because it's a fine line. You can't just flirt with it like nonchalantly. You have to be able to read the subtle cues, or else you're going to screw the dog up. I can't let this dog get into a position where their brain waves get super high gear and I'm all of a sudden now, trying to put out a fire. It's like I got to ease her into it, and that's what I'm doing here. She sees the dog, she smells the dog, and we're just doing the same exact things we did over where there was nothing going on, which is I'm just recalibrating her energy to a point where she's responsive to the on-off switch of the leash. Meaning, like, you see how it's too tense? Well, all I'm doing is making it not be tense. Sometimes I'll give, sometimes I'll take. Meaning sometimes I'll move towards her, sometimes I'll ask her to move towards me. And all I'm doing here is just giving her a chance to unwind that tension, because I explained to the owner, I says, my goal is to walk right through that crowd, like not around them in a big circle, right through them. But she's not ready yet, so I have to get her ready in order to make it fair. If I wanted to look like the best dog trainer, I'd snap this dog on my hip right now and march right through the middle of it, and I would know that I would have control of her, but it would not help her. Do you see the difference? So there's squat 7. And I think I mentioned at this point to the owner that the reason she's doing these squats is because that dog over there can smell her from here, and she knows it. She's not stupid. She's being pretty cooperative, but she's not dumb. She knows what she's all about right now, which is establishing some kind of territorial expression. And it's through body language. Like, if I wasn't reorienting her body, like turning her around in a circle, providing her some distraction, moving her, she would be right up over there standing over top of that little dog, being like, what's up? So here's where I'm priming her. I needed to get really just me and her for a second, kind of rev the engine up, put the visor down on the helmet, because I'm like, we're going for this, and I want her to be having no uncertainty about like the level of seriousness that I'm expecting to have with her. So I take her off to the side for a minute, I square up with her energy, and then we take a broad arc around. I put her on the outside just for safety, and then we walk literally right through these people. I don't know if you could see that, pause it again, but you could see our bodies. We pass in front of some of them and behind some of them. So we walked right through them. And I did it with like absolute focused intention of there will be no problem. And she picked up on that. And sometimes that's what they need. She needed to feel what it felt like, so now that she's not going to be so fixated on it. And now we were able to stand here. We're getting ready to stop filming. We were doing this for a while, but the camera was getting low, and we didn't want to be filming the whole thing. So she squats now to potty, but that right there is something that we can talk about in another video. This is just her second time. She's doing really good. I just wanted you to see the work, and I wanted you to see how it actually looks, so that when you're out there with your dog and it's not feeling like super smooth, it's not supposed to. You got to be patient. You got to give and take with the dog, meaning you can't expect the dog to be perfect. And if the dog is not being perfect, it's not because you're not doing it right. Just relax, breathe, focus on being present in the moment. Focus on how much that you want to communicate with the dog. Express what you want in your intentions, not what you're trying to avoid. And your biggest favor or your biggest help in doing that is going to be your patience. Thanks for sticking through. That was a long video, and I hope that it was helpful. Time to go feed the cat.